Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Roundtable podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything from the feeds. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today, as always, is Melissa Deni. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm good, even though there were like no feeds at all. So, I guess we'll talk about old feeds, but, or I guess, there's a lot of speculation about tomorrow. Thursday. So I guess we can talk about that.
Yeah, it's probably the slowest week of the season so far.
Yeah.
Also with me today, Brent Wolgamott. How you doing, Brent?
Well, that's good because Brent hasn't been here all week. So I'm glad it's a slow week because...
Yeah, so you know everything we know.
Exactly, because I'm telling you, I was just going to come onto this podcast as a casual of Taran. Like, I have watched almost no feeds. I have tried to catch up as much as possible. I have listened to some, not all, of your recaps. I listened to the recap last night with you and Bruno and Rob. And I've tried to read some stuff. So I'm basically up to speed on what happened. But I've been gone all week on vacation. I had a great time. I had the best day gambling ever. As you can see, I got my hair cut finally. And it was just a great time also. So I'm wearing this, by the way, the Hawaiian shirt. Even though I didn't go to Hawaii, I went to Arizona. But it was still the most sun I've had in ages.
There you go. Well, we are here live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern to argue about what's been happening on the Big Brother Canada 6 live feeds. We have the chat room open on robswebsite.com, and you can send questions in to me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran if you so desire. So let's get into this week in feeds. Talk about what happened, recap the week. We start out, obviously, we saw Marin go home. Very sad. Poor Marin. He is out on the streets now, not a part of jury. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. We're already off to the races here. Because I haven't been on since he was evicted. So I wanted to say really quickly that what I said, I just a little pat on the back, old Brent, was true that Marin was not part of jury. And that because they didn't say anything about that. They always advertise that. And I said, I thought there was a good possibility that Marin wasn't going to be a part of jury, that this wasn't going to be a 9-person jury. I thought it could be 8, 7, maybe even 6 with Canada voting. Maybe no jury with Canada voting. I don't know if I wouldn't love that, but I'm just saying that just keep your eyes open because there have been basically no twists this season up until this week. And I still think Canada, our Big Brother Canada, has one more trick up their sleeve.
Yeah, it's possible. We've talked about it before, and I'm hoping, I'm praying that the person that gets evicted Thursday night, they're gonna be going to jury, and it's just gonna be like a one Canada vote or something like that.
That would be yes.
Exactly. Obviously, my ideal would be the person doesn't go to jury, and then they do a 7-person jury starting next week. But I would honestly take the relief of knowing that we have a jury at this point.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the face crack, Melissa, on Johnny's face if he found out that all the good work he's been doing and trying to campaign to jury members is for nothing? Like all the stuff he did for Marin, like they even called him out in the house about it. Like he's not on the jury, man.
It was true. I talked to Marin, and Marin was like, "Yeah, I want Johnny to win. He's the person I want to win. I think he's playing the best game. I love Johnny. I'm going to miss him the most." And I was like, "Man, Johnny put in some good jury work here. Shame you're not going to jury."
Yeah, seriously. He just has to do that for every single person until we get down to the end, and they're like, "Oh, it's a Canada vote. Sorry, you haven't even been on the show, Johnny."
Yes, so Marin has left the house. They go into the HOH competition, which they were kind enough to show us on the feeds.
Yes,
very happy about that. They were pressing a little button over their head. We see Kayla ultimately win that competition after making a kind of deal with Will to keep him safe.
I took it the way Kayla intended it, or at least the way Kayla's saying it now. I took it that way, that like, hey, if you guys all want to jump off, that's totally fine as long as I'm HOH. But having one person jump off, like it's not like the final deal. Like it really, I don't think Will could take that as you promised me safety because you said I could jump off and then you'd win HOH. And if you did then win HOH, then you would keep me safe. Like that I didn't read it that way at all. Even on the rewatch, like I think she clearly intended like, hey, you guys can all jump off. And if you guys all jump off, we'll take the call. I'll be HOH. I won't put you up. And like, I think the way she then tried to explain around it, though, probably wasn't the best. Like saying nobody took the deal. Well, Will did take the deal. So one person took the deal. But the deal was only valid if every single person jumped off. Or at least that's the way I was reading it.
Yeah, I agree with Melissa that I don't understand what Will's problem was here. He was just, I think he was spinning in his own mind. Like, I think he regretted getting the phone call because the phone call was like over and done within 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And then he's like, oh, now I might be vulnerable and I could have won that competition. Oh, but I made a deal with her. So I'm totally safe. And if she goes back on her word, man, then she's not a good person. You know what I mean? I don't see how you can make a deal when there are multiple people involved, Taran. Also, I don't think that Will ever got it in black and white. It was, I mean, if I'm going to make a deal with somebody, I want to know what are the terms. Show me the contract.
And I want to like ask a bunch of times, like even annoyingly. So if I jump off right now and take this call, I'm safe. You will not put me on the block if you win HOH or what. Like I would clarify many times what exactly this deal means. I wouldn't just say, oh, okay, well, she said one thing and I kind of interpreted it this way, so I'm just going to jump off. Like, I think that he definitely was after the fact coming up to her like, well, you know, you're going to look really bad and everyone's going to hate you because you're going against the deal. And I took a phone call from my son. And it's just like, oh my God. Okay, Will.
Well, I think like to take Will's side here. I do think that he interpreted it in the way that he saw it. Like I think that, and even like I think Mustard in the chat says the deal makes no sense anyway. Like who offers a deal to like 4 people and says if all of you jump and Will gets the phone call, then all of you are safe and I'm HOH. Like that didn't even make sense as a deal. So I don't blame Will for interpreting it as if you take the call, you are safe, Will.
Well, I think Will did interpret it that way, but I think that she wasn't intending it that way because that wouldn't make any sense. Like,
well, yeah.
So I think that she was intending it the way she was doing it. Like, oh, hey, if you guys all want to jump off, go ahead. But they didn't take it because obviously no one's going to take that because what would the benefit be for any of the people who jump off besides Will?
I think that Kayla intentionally made it confusing so that Will would drop, having no intention of following through with any deal that she made. I think she was willing to go as far as she wanted to, but she was just saying things to get Will to drop. Like, and it was great between Johnny and Kayla. Johnny like, whatever, Will, you got these people for the rest of your life. You don't need to talk to them for 5 minutes. And Kayla like, oh, but you never know. You need to, you might need to, it's a phone call that could make a big difference. It's different for Will. Like she was doing anything she could to get him to drop. So ultimately, I think
it's fair game.
Yes. Oh, of course. I love it.
Yeah.
By the way, great. I will say really quickly, and I don't mean to belabor this competition, but I disagree with what Rob said last night on the podcast, which is the whole, the fact that you get an hour of slop for every 5 minutes that you're on the competition. I thought that was actually genius on Big Brother Canada's part because it's a little bit of like making a deal with the devil. Like you can hang on as long as you want, but for every hour that you hang on, if you don't win, you are really in bad shape. So I like the fact that it sort of like played with their minds a little bit. Like, I can, because holding the button was relatively easy. I mean, not maybe really easy, but the longer they did it, if they didn't have any intention of winning, then they're screwed. So I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. Although I think it would have been a little bit better if the consequences were a little worse. Like even at like 10 hours, it's like that's easy. Like
I know.
Maybe like every 10 minutes you're on like a day of slop, or 15 minutes it's a day of slop, something like that. Yeah. But I did like the concept of it. So ultimately we see Kayla win this HOH, and her initial thoughts are that she wants to, and this came from the previous week, she wants to nominate Johnny and Will, with Will as the target. However, she goes and she talks to everybody, especially the people that ended up saving Ryan, as well as Ryan, and they all, or at least Ryan, throws them all under the bus, and then she, as we saw in the episode, makes them think that everyone threw them under the bus, so on and so forth. Ultimately, Allie ends up pushing Kayla to backdoor Johnny and make Johnny the target, and instead put up what Allie wants is Paris and Will with Johnny as the backdoor target. Kayla ultimately comes around to the idea, no, I think Maddie and Will is what I want to do. So that is the plan moving forward until Paris jumps in. And this is when the feeds were great. Lots of stuff going on. Paris jumps in last second and convinces Kayla, no, Ryan is the head of the snake. He's the one that caused all of this. Ryan is the target. And Kayla went, yes, you're right. Ryan is the target. She ends up putting Ryan and Will on the block with the intention of sending Ryan home.
This was so frustrating to watch because I was sitting there like all morning, like, wow, what amazing feeds. Kayla's the best. Get him, girl. You're like the greatest. I love you. And like, I was so pumped and so excited to see such a great, exciting week. And Ryan was telling the truth when he told her that stuff. And I was so glad that like, it looked like she was really understanding what was going on. And it looked like, you know, she had a really good, strong hold on the game and what she was going to do. And I kept thinking that when she would talk to people and kind of like say different things or different versions of what was going on, that like her full intention was to go with her own nominations in the end, but she just wanted to kind of either get people to, you know, think that she was agreeing with them or, you know, something like that, like trying to get more people on her side. And then when Paris came and talked to her, I was like, and she said, like, I trust you more than any other girl in this game, which I was like, okay, she's definitely playing Paris at this point because she definitely trusts Allie and Olivia more. She definitely even maybe trusts Erica more than Paris. Like, there's no way that she's saying that she trusts Paris as the most of any girl in this game. And so I was thinking, like, for sure, Kayla's going to continue with her own nominations. There's no way she's buying this from Paris. And then all of a sudden she does it. And I'm like, what the heck are you thinking? What are you thinking? Ryan is not the target. If anything, you should be trying to pull Ryan in and work with him. He has nobody. I really thought that Kayla understood the game and understood her position in the game and understood everybody else's position in the game. And I thought that Ryan gave her really key information when he talked to her that morning. And to have Paris just undo everything that happened all morning, that was just like, it was like devastating to me because I was so rooting for Kayla. And I mean, not that I'm not rooting for her now, but I was rooting for her to make those nominations. And then when she didn't, I was so upset. I was so upset.
Okay.
It's just such a travesty.
So I haven't been on the podcast since this happened. And I was packing for my vacation when this all went down. Last I heard, she was going to nominate Will and Johnny. And I was like, okay, I'm all about that. That's great. Mm-hmm. Like Queen, Kayla, woo. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then I heard that, you know, well, maybe Johnny's a better backdoor target. And so it's going to be Will and maybe Paris, Will and Maddie. And then somehow, that's when I left. I was like gone. And then somehow when I came back, Ryan was on the block. I'm like, what the hell happened? How did this happen? And they were like, Paris. That's what happened. So then I reconstruct what happened. I'm like, I'm exactly like Melissa. I'm like, I was standing Kayla, and now I'm like, girl, bye. Like, the queen is dead. Long live the new queen in Paris. Because I could not believe that happened. I cannot believe that Ryan is her target this week. Of all people in the house, yeah. He was telling the truth. Not that he was not that he was a fan of Dela necessarily, but he was somebody who was at least a little bit more amenable to working with them than other people who are currently in the house right now. The other thing that I want to talk about is, again, Maddie, someone who is completely oblivious to the fact that she's in danger. She's like the blind man in the desert who's like totally getting ready to die. And somehow an angel once again swoops down and saves her. And she thinks she's playing a great game, but it wasn't anything to do with anything that she's causing. It's just extremely frustrating. Good job on Paris' fault. That's just like, I was blown the F away because I'm like, you know, it's been a minute since Paris has done anything of value in this house. I mean, if she said go left, then it was right. Paris, I can't remember the last time she did anything that I liked, except for the first week. And then she pulls this off in 5 minutes. Taran, it was mind-blowing.
Well, especially because Kayla had even said, like, just last week even, to herself in a room alone, that Paris is not someone to be trusted, that Paris has no use for her in this game, and all this bad stuff about Paris.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden she's like, I trust you the most. I'm going to take everything you say as the gospel and use what you tell me as like, that's what we're doing, which is crazy because even when she talked to Allie, she talked to Olivia, she talked to Derek, who supposedly are her allies. They told her to do exactly what she was going to do or variations on that. And then all of a sudden Paris, who like she's not working with, came in, like she just swooped in and got her to change everything without even like consulting with her other alliance members. I don't know what she's thinking.
How did this happen? For real? Because Paris and Kayla have not been working together. They've not been trusting each other. How in the world did this happen? Please tell me.
Well, I very highly suggest, obviously there was a lot that happened that day, and we did basically an extra long live feed update Saturday morning. I did that with Liana. I suggest if anyone is interested in hearing the details of what happened during that day, check that out. But basically, Allie was a big part of it too, because Allie was the one who initially got Kayla to not want to nominate Johnny up front in the first place. And Allie suggested that she should nominate Paris and Will. Then when she came back to Allie later in the day saying, I want to do Maddie and Will, Allie said, whoa, I don't know. It should be Paris. And she was like, why? Like, I think I should do Maddie. And she's like, well, I told Maddie I would speak for her and I would put in a word with you for her. So I should tell you that Maddie had nothing to do with coming after you last week, which directly contradicted the information that Ryan had given Kayla, which I think started the ball rolling in terms of not trusting Ryan, because all of a sudden Allie is saying, no, Maddie did not do this. It was also kind of sketchy of Maddie to be pushing Paris so much. Also, Kayla feels like even if she can't trust Paris, she has her in her back pocket. So she's like, well, I don't want to put Paris up. I don't think she's worth it. That was her way of protecting Paris. And when you do somebody a favor, you tend to feel closer to them because you feel like they should owe you. And so after that conversation, she was already starting to doubt Ryan. She was feeling like, I just protected Paris. Paris walks in and says, it was all Ryan. Maddie had nothing to do with it, reinforcing what Allie had just told her. And then so all of that combined for Kayla to just be like, you know what, I can't trust what Ryan is saying. I feel like he maybe manipulated me. Maybe we should just do Ryan. I don't want to not nominate him just out of spite because people kept him last week. Maybe we should just do this. And Derek had always kind of been on board with that. So
and this is terrible though. Like this is doing the house's work for them.
When they're in danger.
You're leaving, exactly, and you're going to leave yourself vulnerable for next week when all the only thing that can save them is a twist or Derek winning HOH. So
yeah, if everybody in a house already wants Ryan out, why are you doing that work?
Yes,
like, it doesn't make any sense.
You said that earlier in the day, Taran.
Yeah, she was like, I want to keep Ryan in the house because everyone else seems to want him to stay or whatever. She was saying like, if people aren't going to vote him out, I'm going to keep him. Like, I don't know why all of a sudden everything good that she was saying just like went out the window. It was so depressing. It was so sad.
It's like she took a couple of stupid pills. That's what it felt
all of a sudden. Like, I don't know.
Now, I do understand that it was a disappointing move, but I do disagree that it was a dumb move. I think that, and I said this on the update as well, that I think that Kayla was in a situation where she didn't have a lot of great moves available to her. We've talked about it before, but she just has too many enemies. Obviously, Paris had been against her to some extent. Will is against her.
She needs to get out Will. She needs to put somebody up on the block to get Will out. Will needs to go.
Then Taran, if she has too many enemies, how about reducing that number by one?
But Ryan is one of those enemies, and he is somebody that is trying to build an army against her. He is somebody that.
And I think she could have gotten him on her side.
I don't think she can get Ryan on her side. I think that Ryan.
I think now.
I don't think Ryan will ever go on her side. I think that, Johnny tried to pull Ryan in and he immediately the next week threw him under the bus to the next HOH. I think that's Ryan's MO, right? So what happened was when she made this move, Johnny and Erica were both very grateful. And they were like, wow, especially Erica was like, okay, I was doubting Kayla, but I think I can actually trust her. Johnny was saying to Erica, I feel very grateful. I feel like maybe we shouldn't go after them in the coming weeks. weeks. And it was kind of working out because also Paris now felt good with Kayla. She felt like she had influence with Kayla, and Paris still to this day feels good with Kayla and Derek and wants to work with them moving forward. So this actually turned out well for them, even though this wasn't necessarily the intention. But it did work out well until, of course, it got out. They were very sloppy with how they did it. Like I said, they didn't intend for it, so they were pretty sloppy with the execution. It got out to Johnny and Erica that they came very close to backdooring Johnny, and so now, of course, Johnny and Erica are back against them, and but it's still like it's not that much of a difference. Like they could get out Johnny, Erica, Ryan. All three of them are coming after them. Will, to some extent, maybe won't come after them with Paris's influence. Who knows? But
can I ask one question just really quickly?
Yeah.
So because again, I'm a casual this week, basically. I mean, I'm up to speed, but I'm not I don't know all the details. Where's Paris this week? I mean, if Paris wins HOH in a luck competition on Thursday night, what does she do?
Paris wants Erica out of the house.
Okay.
Yes.
She's more back in Kayla's side a little bit more. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Because she succeeded in influencing Kayla's nominations, so she feels like, okay, I'm good with them. Like this is good. So to continue on with the week, obviously we end up seeing Ryan and Will on the block. Johnny ends up winning the veto, and he considers using it on Will. Because they talked before, like, oh, I would always use the veto on you if you're on the block, like guaranteed, no matter what. And so Johnny's like, should I kind of like put my money where my mouth is here? Should I use it on him, even though he should be safe? Johnny was also concerned about there being a potential twist that might screw Will over. Little does Johnny know, the twist may be coming, but it won't be to screw Will over. It would be to screw Erica over. And if he had used the veto on Will, it would have screwed Erica over in the short term, but would have saved her in the long term, which is what happens when twists enter the game.
Right.
Yes. So Johnny ends up talking with Kayla about potentially using the veto. She essentially says, like, you can if you want to, but I don't really want you to. Allie suggests to Kayla, if Johnny uses it, we should backdoor Erica. Kayla agrees. She has another conversation with Johnny where she, again, doesn't really push it. And Johnny ultimately decides not to use the veto. However, in the meantime, Kayla is going to lie about that conversation to Allie and Liv and pretend that Johnny was throwing them under the bus. So at this point, we'll get into where the alliances stand, but a lot of people have turned on Johnny. It was not a good week for him, even though he manages to escape from a situation where he could have been twisted out.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel moderately good about a week in which he was going to be the target, or was going to be one of the targets coming in, is at least coming out alive without the benefit of a twist. On the other hand, I think he has also dropped the ball in terms of what he's allowed to happen with some of his relationships. And I don't think that I really do think that what Kayla said earlier, was it today or yesterday, where she said, if it was smart, Erica and Johnny would work together. They'd pull Olivia in because Olivia loves both of them, and make it like a little threesome alliance. I don't know how much. I know that they certainly like each other, but I don't know how much that alliance is a reality. But that would be good for him if he could pull something like that off. I don't know if he realizes how much danger he's in.
Yeah, I mean, basically what happened with Johnny this week was he obviously it's a terrible spot when the person you've been gunning for weeks wins the HOH in the first place. Like, obviously you're going to get thrown under the bus. You're going to be a target to them, and you're a comp beast. So, like, that's a really bad spot to be put in. It's a testament to the fact that he survived this week at all. However, that combined with the fact that the person he's aligned with in Erica is also a huge target. A lot of the reason people started looking at him in the first place was, this is our way of taking a shot at Erica. Then once they started looking at him, they were like, hold on. There's some discrepancies here, and that's when his game started to unravel a little bit, and that's all it takes sometimes. But he's definitely not out of it yet. He's good at competitions, and honestly, I think even just one HOH win after this in this coming week, and the whole house will flip around again. So I do not count Johnny out yet, at the very least. But let's talk about where people stand in the house. Obviously, Johnny did not use the veto. It looks like Ryan will be leaving unless the twist happens. But let's talk about the twist first briefly. So forecasting the rest of this week, the votes are there. Ryan should be leaving for sure. However, there will be the twist. Canada gets to vote to save somebody on the block or choose not to use the save this week and save it for next week or never. And a lot of speculation there's been a lot of speculation about Canada will probably save Will, especially with the phone call edit and the fact that Will is a fan favorite.
I have no idea why he's a fan favorite. I don't get the appeal at all. I think I don't think he's a nice person on the feeds, at least from what I can see. I don't like the way he talks to certain people. I think that he has a hot temper. He needs to go. I want him to go this week. And now it looks like he's not going. And if anything, he's going to be saved. And now he's going to be even more intolerable. Ugh.
Yeah, it's funny because in the edit, after he was put on the block, he said in the diary room something like, "Oh, you're gonna pay for this, my lady." Or he said something like formal, like calling Kayla something formal, and I was like,
my dear or something.
My dear, yeah, my dear. I think that was it. And it's like that's he uses a little bit different language on the feeds than my dear.
Yeah, a little bit than my dear.
Yeah,
it's stupid, and everyone's like, "That's so cute, I love it." And he does not speak like that on the feeds. He does not speak like that at all. And I hate when they give a great happy edit to somebody who's not like that at all. And the fact that especially okay, fine, they give a good edit to him, but it doesn't affect the game, whatever, he gets voted out, who cares? But with the fact that there's twists that the public votes on, and most of the public only knows these edits that they're giving us, so they're going to use that and think he's this super, super sweet, nice guy who has a son and he's just so adorable and he's got this silly, cute accent and da-da-da. And they're going to give him all these different twists. And it's just so frustrating.
Okay, calm down. The twist hasn't happened yet. Okay, and I am with Taran on this one. I do not think that the twist is going to be used. I do think that Will is cute. I'll give him that. But I agree that he's intolerable. But I think he can be both things at the same time, me personally anyway. I think that, Taran, you have it right. That the twist will not be used, and here's why. I heard Rob laughing at you on the recap last night, and then laughing at you again when you continued to explain why you thought the twist might not be used. But I'm with you because I don't really think that it's Canada voting. I think it's Canada voting and the producers figuring out, well, which votes, these votes look shady over here. Let's get rid of these votes. I'm not saying it's rigged. Okay, Arissa, not saying it's rigged. But I do think that the producers want to make sure that the vote is up to their standards. And so they can sort of make it whatever they want it to be. So I think that there's a good chance that, especially if they know that their girl, look, they got to know that Erica's the most popular house guest right now in terms of America and Canada. I feel like she's the person that people like the most. And to have her be the victim of a twist, not that they're above that because they're certainly not, but to have her go out like this, I think would be terrible for them, especially on a year where they're saying that, Canada, this is for you, the fans. And so the fans love Erica and they're going to get rid of her because of a twist. I think that also they would not have put the whole clause in there about, if you don't use it this week, you can use it next week. I feel like that Arissa will come on. They'll want this to build and she'll say, you have voted to save nobody this week. So the twist will move on to next week when all of the power players will be in danger, probably. We got the riffraff Ryan out of the house. And I really don't think that they're going to give, even if they give Will a nice edit on Wednesday, I don't think they can give him enough of an edit to save him. I think that people will, because the people that will vote in this twist, I think will want to make sure that Erica's safe. Look, I know that people never listen to us on the LFC. Fine. But I look, mark my words. The twist will not be used on Thursday, and we will be talking about the twist next week on the roundtable.
Yeah, well, I really feel like I don't necessarily think the producers will count votes or not count votes, but I do think that they decide what happens with this vote depending on how they edit the Wednesday night episode, because that's it's the vote's only going to be up for one night and people are going to be voting immediately after they watch the episode, and however that episode concludes, the feeling that they have, that's how they're going to vote. So if the episode is and let me just quickly backtrack and set this up for those that don't know. because Kayla said that she would have backdoored Erica if Johnny had used the veto, we can pretty well assume that if somebody gets saved from the twist, Kayla's choice for a replacement will be Erica, and Erica will go home. So if this save is used, I think we are looking at a very, very probable situation that Erica leaves Thursday night. So basically, I think that if they edit the Wednesday night episode to look like Erica really wants to backdoor, or Kayla really wants to backdoor Erica. She's really about to go for it. And then like they're going to trick Johnny into using the veto. Johnny might use the veto. Oh my God, Johnny doesn't use the veto. Erica's safe. Thank God. If that is the tone of the episode, I feel like then the audience will be like, no, we don't want somebody to come off. We don't want Erica to go home. But if it's like a Will underdog edit, or if even it's a Ryan sad puppy dog edit or whatever, like I think that's, they decide what they want to happen. And I think that's the way it's going to go, Melissa.
I would love it if this twist does go through this week. If it happens this week, I should say, I would really love it if we saved Ryan instead of Will, because that to me would be just more hilarious in the house. Like the house guests are all looking at each other going, Canada likes him. Like,
yeah,
I think that would just be
they're
great.
If it was a situation where we had to use the twist this week, I would say for sure vote for Ryan to stay over Will, because that would make for much better TV. Because I feel like they already think Will is a favorite, so
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm with Melissa. I don't think that Will's ego can handle it. So, no. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Please vote for no usage of the twist. Please. That, honestly, I really do not want.
Why do we even try? I
know. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. It's clearly our campaigning doesn't mean anything. But, if I feel like if it happens and I haven't said something, whatever, the squeaky wheel or whatever.
Exactly.
Basically, the only reason you would vote to use the save is if you really hate Erica and you want to see her go, and you don't really care about the ramifications in terms of how it affects gameplay. If that's how you watch the show, that's totally fine. That's up to you. But really, any other motivation, I think you should be voting to. I guess if you want to save Ryan, that's the other situation. If you're like Kevin Martin, you have a 50-1 bet on Ryan to win the season, then you may also want to save somebody, but any other motivation, including sending a message to the production, not interfering with the game, wanting to not save or wanting to not screw over Erica, so on and so forth, you probably want to vote no. Don't use the power here.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the alliances in the house and where things lie. It's actually a little bit simpler this time. We're not gonna. It's not like a huge spider web. Like I said, the game has slowed down a little bit. They're all really concerned about the triple eviction, and they're starting to bundle up and put on their protective shells because they're like, okay, triple eviction is coming. We have to be ready. We have to set things in stone. We have to be prepared. So they're huddling down and bunkering up. But
they don't. To be clear, we've received no notification that there's a triple.
They just assume. They assume it's going to be the week after next, which, who knows? But just the fear of it is causing some interference here. But we see Johnny and Erica. They are kind of by themselves at this point. They have a final two. They call themselves the Heavens Devils, and they, as I mentioned over the course of the week, because of Kayla's lie, they've even lost Allie and Liv. They've lost Paris to some extent. The only person they still kind of have with them now is Will. Will is still on board with Johnny and Erica, does not want to betray them yet, although Will is not fully on board with Erica. He's more on board with Johnny. So they were at the center of everything the past few weeks, and they are now out kind of on an island alone, Melissa.
Yeah. No, I'm interested in the fact that they've solidified this sort of twosome deal, because I really didn't expect that to happen, just because I felt like everybody in this house seemed to be not wanting to put anything in writing, or I guess in words, and not wanting to give anything a name and wanting to kind of keep it very fluid. So it's interesting that they not only said, okay, it's the two of us, but also gave it a name, which it hasn't really been done in the past couple seasons on Big Brother.
Yeah. So they're going to be going after Derek and Kayla. At the moment, they currently want to go after Derek and Kayla. What happened was Olivia told Erica that Kayla came close to backdooring Johnny. Erica kind of slid that over to Johnny. So they are gung ho. They are fully on board to target Dela in the coming week. And Liv also, by the way, was the person who told Johnny that he should win the veto. Johnny asked her, "Should I win?" And she was like, "Yep." He was like, "Do I need it? Am I in danger?" She's like, "No, you should win. You should win it." That being said, Liv no longer really with them. She's talked a lot about targeting them moving forward. So I'm not entirely sure where Liv's head's at. It doesn't really benefit her to target them. She should really be targeting the Paris, Maddie, Will trio. But she may just be giving lip service to Allie's very overbearing plans. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I can't even believe that the Paris, Maddie, Will trio is still in the house. I really can't because we were talking about them week 1, and I think it's because of their own dysfunction that they're still in the house. Like if they were a tight threesome, then I think that they would have quickly been one of them would have been excised from the house. But because they are so terrible together and they're like the worst alliance partners ever, they're all still there.
Yeah, it's because they're constantly trash talking each other. When they do protect each other, it seems more genuine.
Yeah. See, that's why people think they realize that we're not close because I'm always trash talking you, Taran, and they never want to get rid of me.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's it. That's Johnny, Erica with sort of Will loosely attached to them. Then we have Derek, Kayla, Allie, and Liv. They are the power of the house right now because Kayla is HOH. They have been lying to each other, they're both trying to turn the other pair against Johnny and Erica so that the other pair will do the work for them. So they've both ended up against Johnny and Erica, even though those 3 pairs were grouped in together and linked at one point. So they are all going after Johnny and Erica next week if they win. Liv would do it a little more subtle. Liv is talking about I'd nominate Paris and Maddie, maybe backdoor Johnny, whereas Allie's a little more bold, and Derek and Kayla will both probably nominate the both of them up together, Johnny and Erica. So that's what they're doing. They are not necessarily on the same page, but they do want to take each other far in the game. Although I'm not sure Dela wants to take Allie and Liv quite as far as Allie and Liv want to take Dela. Brent.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's amazing, though, that you could have a scenario where either Allie or Derek wins HOH next week, and it puts Erica and Johnny up on the block. One of them wins the veto. The twist saves the other one. They're both safe, and they're going to run the game from then on out. I mean, that is a possibility if the twist isn't used this week. So,
yeah, that's true.
Oh, boy, that would be
crazy.
That would be crazy, especially if they have the balls to finally do that and put both of them up on the block and then they're both safe. Wow.
Which is another reason to save the twist for next week, potentially, everyone.
Well, I think the more likely outcome is somebody like Johnny wins, goes after Derek and Kayla, and we get sort of like a botched HOH, and we see somebody who I guess maybe Allie could go home if there's some twisty stuff. Maybe Derek actually goes. Actually, if it's Derek and Kayla up on the block, I could see Kayla being saved because it's the last chance to use it, and then Derek goes home, which would actually kind of be I'd kind of be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd not be okay with the twist happening. I'd be okay with Derek leaving.
By the way, I love that Bruno didn't want to throw anybody under the bus when he was doing the recap last night, but then when he got to Derek, he just couldn't hold back. He's like, oh man, he's terrible, man. He's just
Look, I don't think he's that bad. I honestly, when he talks with Kayla and he gives his targets and his strategy moving forward and who he thinks should go, it's not wrong. I don't think he's a bad player. I think that he's not really doing anything yet, but also maybe he doesn't need to really do anything yet. Yeah. So that might be the smart thing to do.
Melissa, though, I have to tell you, they have no chemistry together. I mean, you and I have more chemistry than Eric and Kayla. I mean, what is going on?
Well, there was that weird thing where she said, that they're just friends or they're just close, but they cuddle. And they don't really kiss or do anything. So
that sounds like us.
Yeah, it sounds like us. Yeah, no, I don't know. So I guess that's, who knows?
I'm sorry,
Maybe
Taran, you were going to say
strategic
something.
partnership.
I just feel like Derek has deferred to Kayla with after Jesse left. He was just like, all right, you can take care of this. And I do think that if Kayla left and Derek stayed, that he could wake up and start playing again. He still has maintained his bonds with people, so I think that is possible. But for the moment, he's really adding nothing. So there's that group, Dela plus Allie and Liv. They're going after Johnny and Erica, and then we also have the Paris, Maddie, Will trio, and they have recently attached themselves also to Dela. So Dela, again, like the person in power, they branch out, they become the center of multiple alliances, and that's what's happened this week. I do think that Dela is more loyal to Paris and potentially Maddie now than they are to Allie and Liv. I think that they plan on taking Paris and Maddie further in the game. And if it came down to it, that's who they would choose if you asked me. And that group, they, per Paris's idea, they want to target Erica first and then Johnny. So they are going after Erica, whereas Allie and Liv would prefer Johnny to go over Erica. Paris, Maddie, Will obviously doesn't want to see Johnny go at all. Will is not on board with that, but Dela, Paris, and Maddie are on board to take out Erica next week if she doesn't leave in the upcoming twist. So Will is, again, not really part of this, but they want to kind of include him. He's kind of loosely attached, just like he is with Johnny and Erica. So Will has become sort of the loose player here, but that's where these people lie, Brent.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I can't wait to see what happens, especially if Paris and Maddie have different ideas insofar as Johnny than Will does. How does their threesome hold up? You know what I mean? Especially if Paris and Maddie are relatively against Erica and by consequence have to put up Johnny as well, just to sort of guard against the fact that she might win the veto. I don't know if Will's going to be into that or allow that to happen. And if they push it, then how much does he fight them on it? I think that's going to be interesting because he has trouble controlling his temper sometimes, and I can see him getting really upset about that.
Yeah, Will, I think what would happen is if Paris or Maddie, wow, Perry is there. I feel like I've said this before. Perry is there, yeah. So if Paris or Maddie won HOH, I think that they would nominate, I think they've said this, I think they would nominate something like Allie and Erica and try to take Erica out, not touch Johnny, tell Johnny we're working with you, we're fine. That would appease Will as well. And then hopefully take Erica out for them. If Derek won, Paris was trying to get him to nominate the same, to nominate Allie and Erica. Kayla and Derek pushed back, saying we'd prefer Liv and Erica. But then after Paris left, Derek was like, why don't we just do Johnny and Erica? But we know that Paris will be, if she has the same amount of influence she did this week, will be pushing something like Allie or Liv plus Erica to keep Johnny safe for that particular week. As long as Erica doesn't win that veto, as long as Erica is in the house.
Yeah, that's a necessity.
Yes. So that's really where it lies. There's three groups. It's Johnny, Erica, it's Paris, Maddie, Will, and then you've got those two Dela infused groups, Liv, Allie, Dela, and then Paris, Maddie, Dela. So and they're all, some people are going after Johnny and Erica, some people are going after the showmans, nobody really going after Paris, Maddie, or Will. So Paris did some good work here, Melissa.
Yeah, she definitely did some good work this week. I think that, I don't know. I guess I will say though, like in Kayla's defense, when I was watching everything on the feeds, I was like, I'm kind of convinced by whoever's talking to her. Like every time Johnny would be talking to her, I'd be like, oh, I like Johnny. I'd probably keep him safe. And then Erica's talking to her, I'm like, oh, I like Erica. I'd keep her safe. And then Paris is talking to her, I'm like, yeah, Paris has got a good point. I like her. Like literally, everybody was convincing me, and I was like, man, it'd be really hard to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing this week, and now let me talk to everybody and stick with that. But I felt like she was going to stick with it until Paris, and so Paris did really good work. Paris was obviously the most influential, and I think that it showed. She can be very manipulative if she wants to be.
I feel like we need to get you on a secret Hitler stream. I feel like you'd be really good trying to suss out who's lying.
It would be very hard because I would be like, oh, I like this person. I'm just gonna I go with them.
Stab you in the back.
Melissa, I'm a liberal. I'm not fascist.
I'd be like, aw, Taran, we were on Team Robot together. All right, cool. I'll believe you.
I ran into someone in Reno that was like, "Hey, you're the guy that tricked me into thinking that you were not fascist in that game." And I was like, "Oh yeah."
You're like one of many. One of many.
It was a pretty bad one. She was like feeling really bad for me. It was okay. So let's get into the. Also, sorry, I almost forgot. Ryan all by himself. Ryan has nobody. They think he's leaving this week. If he stayed in the house, he would be going after Derek and Kayla. Kayla in particular, he'd be going after her hard and trying to persuade anybody that won into going after her. He's been saying that if anybody leaves her in the house next week, they are dumb. They need to get her out. And he's also been pushing the fact that they have an alliance with Ali and Liv, and people need to watch out for that. So that's where Ryan stands in the house. But let's get into the stock watch here. Let's update our picks. Last week we had some interesting stuff. I bought Derek and I traded for Liv last week. Brent, you did something. You bought 2 of Liv, and Melissa, you bought Kayla and Liv.
Yes.
So that's where we stood last week. Let's see how it goes this week. Let's start with let's go alphabetically this time. Let's start with Ali, who we all agreed was going down last week. She was kind of maybe a little bit in trouble heading into this week. She, I think, lucked out with the Kayla HOH win. Kayla ends up making a bigger target of herself, doing some of Ali's dirty work. However, I do think that while Ali has risen since last week, she also went back down again, and I'm not sure she managed to capitalize fully on the advantage that she had this week. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you in that I think that she didn't fully capitalize on what she was given, but last week was really bad for her with the whole Ryan blow up and everything, and it just, she just went way down last week. So I have to rank her as up this week because last week was just not a good showing for her. So I've got to give her a little bit of credit. And I think that she's made herself a little bit less of a target. Whereas last week I was like, man, she could be the next one to go. And she's not. So I got to give her a little bit of credit for that. And also, you know what? I'm just going to buy an Ali stock. And I'm going to use my stock this week to buy Ali because I don't know. I just think that she's got some good allies. I don't necessarily see her as being like the next big target. I think there's a lot of other people out there who might be a target in front of her. So, I'm going to give some stock to Ali.
There you go. Ali getting some stock from Melissa. Brent, how do you feel about Ali this week?
Well, I am going to do something interesting. I'm also going to rank her up because I don't think you could do worse than last week. I thought she was absolutely abysmal last week. And this week hasn't been phenomenal, but it's been better than last week. She seems to have, ironically, repaired relationships with the person who's most likely to be evicted. So I don't know if that's going to help her if she eventually gets to a jury vote, but it certainly would help her if Ryan stayed in the house, although they still have that history together. But I'm also going to trade away my Ali stock. I own some Ali stock, and I bought it during week 3, and I'm going to trade it for something else. So I don't trust her. I think that she's always going to be the person to be evicted over Liv. And I worry about her temper. So I don't really care for Ali at this point in the game.
Yes, I do think this is a tough one to call. I think she hasn't played great this week, and I think I'm gonna have to say she is down for me. Just slightly. It's kind of a tough call.
Worse than last week.
Well, just because she's like last week she did poorly, but her position hadn't been affected that much. I didn't think I felt like Dela they were definitely the target ahead of her. Whereas now I think that Dela has a lot of outs. I keep referring to them as one person. I think Derek and Kayla both have a lot of outs in terms of ratting Allie out and selling Allie down the river. Allie tried to push us to backdoor you last week. I could see Allie leaving next week, whereas I didn't necessarily see her leaving this week. So I am going to say down. Melissa, just so you're aware, I saw you say in the chat, this is your second piece of Allie stock.
Oh, is it? Then I don't want it. I only want one. I thought I gave away that one.
No,
okay.
You gave away Marin.
Yeah, you couldn't because you had to give Marin away.
Oh, okay. Then that's that. I was like, I swear I gave that away. Okay, no, then I don't want to buy it. I only want one.
All right, we're canceling the buy.
Canceling the buy.
That was a
We
misclick.
are marking this in your permanent record, though.
Thank you, Chad, for pointing that out. Because I was like, no, I didn't have to. I already gave that away.
You got to check the charts.
I don't have a chart.
we retweeted.
Going off memory this week, so. And apparently it's not good.
Yeah, just to be clear, Melissa, you currently own 1 unit of Johnny, Allie, Kayla, and Liv. Those are the 4 people that you own right now.
Johnny, yes. Allie, Kayla, and Liv.
Yeah, Johnny, Allie, Kayla, Liv. Yeah.
Yes,
all right,
so now,
I gotta get somebody else.
Yeah, and Melissa now is the only person that owns stock in Allie. Let's move on to Derek this week. Last week, we all agreed he was on the way up. I even bought some of his stock. I felt like he was pretty safe. Nice place to store my stock. How do we feel about him this week, Brent?
I feel moderately good about him this week. I will rate him up. I feel like he has gained a little bit with by the consequence of Kayla winning. Boy, I have trouble with their names. I know I noticed on the recaps you always have trouble with Kayla and Erica because they both have that K sound in their name, and they're both like 2 women who win a lot. So I think that I always have trouble with him with mixing up Derek's name and Dayla with Kayla. So Derek, I think I'll rate him up mainly because he has established some bonds with people and by consequence of Kayla's HOH. However, I still wonder if he has the killer instinct enough to win, because this is a must-win stock watch. We don't get anything for people making it to 2nd place or 3rd place, and I don't know that he's able to do that. So I'm going to rate him up because I feel like this week has been on balance better, marginally better than last week, but I do not think that he can win the game. So because I just don't think he has the killer instinct, but we'll see.
Yeah, see, I feel similarly about Derek that I did with Marin, where it's like I felt like Marin at one point had a really good read on the house, and I kept thinking like, okay, now he just has to use that. Now he just has to take that read and actually apply it to the game and do something strategic. And he also, Marin, I felt like was able to talk with people pretty well. I mean, I don't think his social game was very good, but he was able to talk with people pretty well and like make people like him. He was friendly. But Derek's got a really good social game, and I feel like Derek has a good read on the house. But now we just have to see, can Derek apply that to the actual game? Can he use that for anything? Can he be strategic? Like, I don't know. And so right now, we still haven't seen anything that makes us think that he could. So I'd have to rate him up. But at the same time, I'm not so confident in his abilities. But, he's not doing worse than he did last week. He's in a better position, I think. So. Yeah. And
I think Kayla will always be evicted over him.
Yeah.
Yeah, in most untwisty circumstances,
That's
yes,
true.
I agree. I think that Kayla winning was good for him. His position in the house, I think, has improved. So I am also going to rate him up. But it's time for me to trade my stock.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yes, it's not a safe place anymore to keep it. So I'm going to move it. Because I could see him leaving next week with the twist, and I wouldn't want that. So I will be removing my stock from Derek. We'll see where we'll put it next. And let's move on to Erica. I said that I felt like Erica was going down last week. The 2 of you thought she was heading up. What do you think now, Melissa?
This is tough because I think her performance might be up, but her position in the house, I think, might be down because she might be out the door this week. So, I guess I have to rate her down, considering that, first of all, she was almost backdoored this week. And second of all, she might still be backdoored this week. So yeah, I've got to rate her down, unfortunately.
Yeah, I co-sign that. I rate her down as well. And I think that she has, you talk about Kayla having too many enemies. I feel like Erica has too many enemies. I feel like everybody is really cognizant of the fact that they cannot let Erica move forward at all any further in this game. And I don't necessarily know that I felt like that last week. Last week, I felt like there were some people willing to keep her around for a couple weeks or so. But I feel like at this point, she's just got too many people, not only people who really want to go after her, but also people who are connected to other people who they could influence to go after her. So I don't feel positive about her chances at all. I rate her down.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And what I said last week was I felt like even though she was in a good position, I felt like her competition wins were going to turn people against her. And I feel like that has happened this week. And her position has fallen dramatically. I think that Erica would likely go ahead of Johnny at this point. And she is one of the bigger targets heading into next week if she survives this week at all. That said, of course, she has a great chance of winning. And she has a great chance of her allies winning. So it's not likely that she goes home next week, but I do think that her position in the house has gone down, and so I am also going to rate her down. Let's move on to Johnny, who we all agreed was up last week. He had just convinced Liv to not evict Maddie and go after Hamza instead in the double eviction. And he was looking pretty good, but things have changed this week. Things have changed, Brent. How do you feel about Johnny now?
Yeah, I'm going to rate him down, and I don't know what you're going to do with well, you've already traded, so you can't. You own 2 Johnny stocks this week. So, I mean, I guess you can take solace in his competition prowess and the fact that a twist might save him if he truly is in danger. He is a sweet guy, and everybody seems to like him in the fandom. I don't know. I think there's some haters, obviously, but I think he has a lot of people who enjoy him. But I don't like his position in the house as somebody who everybody seems to think of as a threat, or at least I don't think it's good for him to be a number 2 target for a lot of people with a twist in play. You know, like if Erica is in danger, she gets saved, then what happens to Johnny? So I'm gonna rate him down this week.
All right, Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Johnny played poorly this week or played worse than he did last week. I think he did a good job in talking with Kayla and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, he still was almost backdoored this week, or even almost put on the block. So I got to rate him down. So I think that, I don't think his performance was bad, but it's clear that he's not in a super great place. Whereas before it seemed like most people wouldn't want him on the block or wouldn't want him to go home, and were trying to find ways to keep him around. And now it kind of seems like they know he has to go. So I have to rate him down.
By the way, before you give me your rating on on Johnny, Taran, I wanted to read what Mary said in the chat. She said, Erica is going to get netted. I even think Arissa would tell them that Erica is not immune anymore. That made me laugh. I'm like, oh my God, I remember when she did that. Netta is not immune anymore.
And by the way, here's the crowd booing her.
Yeah, everyone, an easy target if you want like Canada to love you. Yeah, it's so sad.
Yes, we've talked about Johnny a bit during this podcast. I feel like Johnny's game has taken a big hit this week. However, he was in such a good position. I think he was in one of the best positions in the house heading into this week, that even though he's taken a big hit, I'm not trading the stock yet. I still feel like he has a lot of room to bounce back. Most other people take this hit. They're probably they're almost out at this point. But I do think Johnny has some outs. I think that not only will Erica likely go before him, but if Erica leaves Thursday night, then I think that the target on Johnny's back diminishes a bit and people might start to look elsewhere. I think that if Erica doesn't go, and then either Erica or Johnny or Will win the HOH, then the entire house is going to reshift and change. And Dayla and Allie and Liv, they're going to be ratting each other out like crazy, and everything's going to shift again. So I think that that power structure can change. So I'm not ready to trade. This does mean that I'm putting some stock at risk here. If Johnny leaves, I'm not going to be able to trade it off of him fast enough. But that's that's the way I'm gonna go here. I've still got the Reno gambling bug in me. So I'm going to say down for Johnny this week, but not trading any of my Johnny stock. Is the same with you, Melissa? Not trading any?
Nope.
All right. So moving on, let's talk about Kayla. Kayla, who has won the HOH this week, she made some moves that the fans did not appreciate, and I don't think the edit appreciates her either. That's something that we didn't talk about in terms of the edit could also portray Kayla as the villain, and people may want to, similar to what happened with Tom Plant in season 1, save somebody just to spite Kayla, which is also maybe why people would vote no, because maybe they know that Kayla wants it to be used. It just all depends on how they portray it in the show. But let's talk about Kayla. Where do you feel like Kayla has gone this week, Melissa?
The edit is so wrong, by the way. I don't think Kayla is a villain at all. And I also hate how all these people on Twitter are saying, like, wow, Kayla hasn't been playing all this game. She hasn't been doing anything. And now all of a sudden she thinks she's this mastermind or whatever. And okay, Kayla has been playing this whole game. She is not one of the people that you can say she has just been sitting there, not doing anything. I think she's been very strategic. I think she's been very good at going around and convincing people of certain things and making social connections with people. I don't think that she did a good job on her ultimate nominations this week, but I think that she has been playing this whole game, and I don't like the fact that people are sitting there saying that she's some non-entity in this game when she really is. And I don't think that she's this villain or whatever. I think that also, like, it makes me think that if a guy were doing this, that it would be like, oh man, like, he's so great because, he's so whatever, it's another Dr. Will or something. But because it's a girl, like, maybe I'm totally off, but I just feel like it's very different for a guy and for a girl, and people just don't like it if a girl is considered a villain on the show. I don't know, whatever. The point is that I don't think Kayla's a villain. I like her a lot, and I like what she's doing besides the nominations. And whatever. The point is that I might rate her.
Point?
I think I want to rate her down this week, but at the same time, I feel like I want to rate her up this week because I do think that some people feel more connected to her because maybe they feel, well, Paris specifically maybe feels that she can manipulate her more, and she thinks that she's someone who she could influence, whereas before it seemed like, I can't get to Kayla and I have no idea how. So I think that there are some people who might keep her around longer than maybe they would have last week. So I'm gonna rate Kayla up, and I'm not trading her stock.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. By the way, I was just playing with you because I knew you had many points to make, but I was generally with you on all the points you were making. I agree that Kayla is fun. I enjoy her on the show a lot. People saying that she was a non-entity, like, girl, bye, stop. Like,
it's because they've watched the show and she was on the show.
That's true. I know.
The feeds are so different.
Yeah, and they have done Kayla really dirty on the show. Like, most of what we've seen from her is in relation to Derek and talking about boys, and then now, like, laughing in the face of your favorite players. So it's like she's really been done dirty by the edit.
Yeah, and she's not. She's a really kick-ass woman. I didn't love her nominations this week, and she definitely got hoodwinked by Paris. Mm-hmm. But she's been playing hard. Like, I mean, I still think of her like Janelle. Like, she's just winning comps and crushing dreams. Like, I like the fact that she was laughing at these people and having fun with her HOH. You can say she got HOH-itis. I know the chat room was saying that earlier, but it was her one opportunity to really get some information and try somehow to insulate herself when she knows she's the better part of a showman. She's in a really tough position, and I feel like she did an okay job this week. So just by the fact that I enjoy her alone, and I somehow think she's going to be safe, and she's done, like, inadvertently, as you mentioned, Taran, some things that have sort of worked out for her, even though maybe Ryan wasn't the best nominee, that if she had nominated Johnny, he would have won the veto anyway. So, like, that was good. But on the other hand, Johnny found out that she was going to backdoor him, or maybe he was going to backdoor him. So I'm going to rate her up, and I still think she's going to survive another week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kayla's awesome. That said, this week it's hard. I think she was pretty low last week. She had a good good week 3 during Hamza's HOH when she was like really she had saved herself from the block and had stolen Hamza's good work. Since then, it's been like a slow decline. She's been losing allies. Then she won HOH, and she was in a position to do. I think she could have done better than she did, and I'm not sure that she made a ton of progress, but I do think she's made a little bit of progress. So I will say she has gone up a little bit. I think that she has a couple of things. I think the twist is likely to benefit her, even if the edit is portraying her as the villain, the unlikable person. Canada, I think, is not going to be able to help themselves, and she will probably be helped by this twist, regardless of what happens.
I wanted to bring up something really quickly. I think it's also important whether or not she gets time. If she gets even 5 minutes to talk about this, because if she has 5 minutes, I think she will nominate Erica, and Erica will go home. But if she doesn't, if it's an instant, like, okay, you can and you will moment where she has to name somebody, I don't think she does it. And what do you guys think?
I think she's had enough conversations with Paris now and Ali and Liv that she knows that the support is there to take the shot if she needs to. I think she'll probably be able to quickly count. I mean, depending on how good she is under pressure, I think she can count. I've got Derek, Ali, Liv, Paris. That's all I need. And then she can probably take the shot. But maybe she isn't able to do that, or maybe she's worried about one of those people, and so she decides, just Maddie. But I do. Precedent says that Tom got a little bit of time before his nomination, so we'll just have to see what happens there. But so yes, I will rate Kayla up just slightly. I do think she's still in a lot of trouble, and I think she's got a long road ahead of her. She wants to win the game, but I think that her position has slightly improved. So that's where Kayla stands. Let's move on to Olivia, who we all have some stock in Olivia. Brent has 2. Melissa and I both have 1. I think that Olivia, for me, I've been consistent. Melissa and I have both consistently said that Olivia's game has just continually improved. Brent, you were a little low on her in the early stages, but you are now on top of that. I think that for me, this is the first week where I feel like Olivia's game has gone back down a little bit. I think I may have even mentioned last week that I felt like it might have been her peak, and I do think that she is starting to fall a little bit. I think that turning on Johnny and Erica didn't do great things for her because they were wanting to take her very far, and there are other people in the house that are more present targets, more pressing targets for her in the house. Also, Derek and Kayla have moved from wanting to take Olivia further to now wanting to take Ali further. They expressed interest in wanting Olivia out of the game, or at least used as a pawn over Ali. So I think for me, Olivia's game has gone down, but only because it had been so good in the previous week that these small faults, these small failures have put her down. Brent, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't help but rate her up. I think she's great. So I think I probably agree with you that she's made a few mistakes this week, but I still think her overall position in the house is, on balance, really, really good. I still cannot envision a scenario in which she is evicted in the near term, or maybe even like the mid-near term. Like, I think it would be final 5 at the soonest before Olivia is actually considered for eviction. I know that early on the house guests were talking about, oh, she's a threat, she's a law student, she's this, she's that, but she seems to have, like, the target on Olivia's back has continued to shrink. I own 2 units of Olivia, and I'm sort of vacillating between what I want to. I'm not going to sell them. I'm not trading them either. I'm just sort of, because I traded away my what did I trade away? My Ali stock, and so I'm trying to decide if I want to buy one more Olivia stock or if I want to hold it. I think, considering the way this week went, I'm going to just leave well enough alone with the 2 that I have right now, and save my 2 units that I get to use this week on somebody else.
Yeah, in regards to Olivia, I agree with both of you guys in that I do think that this week there were a few things that weren't so great, but at the same time, I still want to rate her up because in the grand scheme of things, she's still in a good position, and she's playing better than some of the other people in the house, or at least is seen as less of a threat. So yeah, I'm going to rate her up, but I'm going to leave my stock on her, but I'm not going to buy anything.
This is funny. Yes, I think she has gone down, but I do plan on using my traded stock. So I'm the only one of the three of us that is purchasing some Olivia stock to make it two pieces of stock in Olivia. Even though I do think, it's just a matter of I agree. I think she's still in probably one of the best positions in the house. Just in comparison to last week, I think it's slightly worse. But I will be purchasing another piece of Olivia stock here. Let's move on to Maddie. Let's talk about Maddie. You were both down on Maddie last week. I was up on Maddie. I felt like Maddie, her position had improved. I felt like she was out of the danger zone. She was in danger for a couple weeks in a row. And then I felt like because she survived the double eviction, I felt like she was going to be okay. And that's where I landed on her. Melissa, how do you feel like Maddie stands this week?
It's very tough.
Maddie stands.
It's very tough because she was almost just put on the block. She couldn't find a way to get in with Kayla and like convince her that she was on her side. There was so much crosstalk about, who was the one who told Ryan to target Dayla and all this stuff. And it just seems like she doesn't have a foothold in anywhere. And I got to rate her down again, I guess, because I don't know where she goes from here. I mean, it's possible that next week, she can join up with people and figure out a way to do it. But right now, it's just not looking so great for her, especially because it seems like she might be an easy person to just put up on the block and send home if people don't want to target any big targets. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm rating her down, and I will not be buying her. I'm giving up on the Maddie train. I'm sorry. I don't think she can win. Again, this is a must-win stock watch. I don't think she can win. She is incapable of talking to anybody unless it's like a job interview. That's how she talks to people. She doesn't seem to be able to drop the wall and let people in. And I know she has cried at times, but it doesn't even seem authentic when she does. And I'm trying to be nice to her. Like I want to stan Maddie. Okay, I just want you all to understand that I want to like her game. But I've come to the realization that I am in love with the idea of what I thought Maddie was and not the actual player. Because the actual player in the house, I just don't think is very good, and I don't think she can win the game here.
I am going to stick to my guns here. I am going to say that I think Maddie is continuing to rise because she is even less of a target than she was in previous weeks. And I do think that her chances of winning in the final two are very slim. However, as basically the stock pick for the final two go, like everybody is going to want to take Maddie to the end. I feel like that's a pretty good spot to be. She's out of the pot. She's out of the frying pan, right? Like she's not in immediate danger anymore, and she continues to rise in people's estimations. Paris really wants Maddie to continue in the game now. She feels like Maddie is a good person to bring along. She's been talking Maddie up to Dayla. Dayla is starting to feel good about Maddie. I think that a lot of people are going to start to look at Maddie as, we want to drag her along to the end. And if she's there, she's got a chance to win. It happens all the time.
Didn't she shout you out on the feeds earlier today or something?
Yeah, we know your game, Taran.
She mentioned the Taran show.
That's what I thought.
Did she mention that? What did she say?
Shenanigans going on here.
Look, I rated her up last week, but long before she must have
known, and that's why she shouted you out.
I've been saying for a while that I feel like Maddie is the kind of player that kicks it into gear at the end of in the end game, and I still think that's a possibility.
What she is, she's exactly like what Rob said last night on the recap. She's the guy in the bar who's like, "Oh man, hold me back, man. I don't know. I want to win this one. You better watch out next time." Like, I mean, that's like, girl, stop. Like, you had no chance of winning that button competition. Like, just stop. Whatever. Okay. She needs to win something to turn me around on Maddie. Go ahead.
Right. From my perspective, Maddie was, had one foot out the door for a couple of weeks there, and I feel like, and no, I feel like she doesn't. Nobody's targeting Maddie anymore. Maddie is now the person that they want to drag to the end, and so I feel like no, she is not high in the stock watch, but she has risen from the bottom. I do feel like she has a chance of getting down to the end because a lot of people are going to take her there, and if she is there, there's always a chance that the jury could be bitter, that people could end up, winning, so on and so forth. So I feel like Maddie has continued to slowly rise from her basically zeroed out position that she was in before. No, I am not buying any Maddie stock. I think she is probably the least likely person to win the game at the moment, but in comparison to last week, she has continued to rise. So let's move on to Paris. Let's talk about Paris. Paris is somebody, Brent, you and Melissa both thought she was going down last week. I thought she was heading up, and I am going to continue to stick to my guns on Paris as well. I feel like Paris has also risen this week. I think that she is doing some good work, and her position has dramatically improved. I think that she finally has something to put on her resume that is actually real, as opposed to many of the fake things that she feels like she has on her resume. And I think that she is one of the people in the best spots in the house at the moment. So I feel very good about Paris right now. I am rating her up, and I am also going to purchase some Paris stock. Melissa, how do you feel about Paris?
I agree. She did some really impressive work this week that I honestly did not think she'd be able to pull off. So I was very impressed with her. And yeah, I got to say she's up this week for sure, because I really didn't think she was going to be able to have any influence on anyone at this point, because I just felt like she thought she was very manipulative. She thought she was this and that, but it turns out she totally is. So I got to give her credit for the way the nominations turned out this week and the way the target is looking. So yeah, and I'm also going to buy some Paris stock.
Well, then make it 3 for 3, because I'm rating her up as well. I like how Taran subtly throws us under the bus, Melissa, by saying, you and Brent had Paris down last week, but I continue to rank her up.
I continue to follow along with what I initially.
I'm just stating the facts. I do it with every.
I know.
Yes. Well, when the facts are favorable.
I know, right?
When the facts are favorable, they often are, and it's not like I can change them.
Wow, look at that. Wow. See, this is exactly what we're talking about.
I love it that like a year into her time with Rob as a podcast, Melissa's finally come around to where I'm at with Taran. Like, oh my God, like really? Yeah. Okay. Okay, anyway, I'm buying
wasn't that like her main, like that? She was like that from the start.
She hit it better than most. I'm buying 2 Paris units because I have one traded away from when I traded away Ali. So I'm gonna buy Paris twice here, so that makes 3 units of Paris. So I'm all in on Paris and Liv. That's all I have. I firmly believe that one of these 2 people are going to win the game, and when it happens, I'm going to be far ahead of the 2 of you. So I am so excited about Paris this week. She finally gave me something. Validated my belief in her early on, because I agree with Taran, though. A lot of the things that she's been doing early on were like, girl, that's all in your head. Like, there's nothing there. Mm-hmm. But I do love it that even when she did do something this week that was great, she turned to us on the feeds and was like, did I do that? Or was that just like, is that just something in my head that I think I did, like everything else that's been happening? Like, I mean, I like that she is self-aware enough to realize that, hey, there may be some things that have been happening that you really had nothing to do with. In fact, you might have actually hurt your cause. So I am shocked that she was able to pull this off. I think that I agree with you, Taran, that she's going to be able to argue this point if she ever gets to a final 2. And having watched her this week talk with people, I do believe that she's finally crossed the point where I think she can win the game depending on who she's sitting next to in the final 2. And I believe in her ability to say, to talk her way out of it if maybe the final 2 is going badly. I never believe that somebody can talk their way out of a position where it's like, 6-1 or 7-2 going into a final jury vote. Like, it has to be relatively close. But if there are a couple of people who are amenable to voting for her, I believe that she could possibly get their vote. So I'm all in on Paris at this point.
Have any of us lost stock yet?
No.
By someone going home? Okay.
Nope.
I feel like in this house right now, you've got Johnny and Erica, obviously huge targets. You've got Derek and Kayla, huge targets. You've got Ali and Liv. Ali is making a huge target of herself with the game that she's playing. Will is a big target by himself. All you have left, especially if Ryan leaves, is Paris and Maddie. They are the 2 goats in the house. They are the 2 people that people want to drag along with them. I can very easily see a Paris and Maddie final 2. I think that's what Paris wants, and I think that Paris likely wins wins in that scenario. But obviously anything can happen. But I also think that Paris has a decent shot against some other people as well. I could see a Paris Liv kind of being close. I could see Paris Alley being kind of close. Paris Derek.
Paris Liv would be great. Oh my God.
Yes. So yeah, I think that she has a shot here. I think that her chances continue to improve as the game goes on. I've said it before. Andrew's saying it. Paris is that cockroach. She's going to continue to survive while people like Johnny and Kayla, who are the other pillars of the house, they fall on each other, they attack each other, they kill each other off. Paris sneaks by unnoticed and goes, haha, I have won. And I made that happen, even though I maybe didn't most of it.
By the way, I wanted to read something really quick. So Andrew says in the chat that Paris mentioned on the feeds that she deliberately hugs Kayla and Erica's stuffed animals. When she talks with them in the HOH, she is deliberately playing up the quote-unquote innocent kid thing. And then he goes on to say Paris is a cockroach who will Cassandra her way to the end. I like that Cassandra is now a verb.
I don't think I've seen the Cassandra compare. I'm not sure I see the. I don't think she's playing the Cassandra game, but I do agree. She does that. She hugs the person's stuffed animal. She talks about their personal life, and
she needs to be able to pull this stuff out at the end. Like, look, do you remember when I was talking to you? Of course, I know she's not gonna have a lot of time though, so I worry about, like you have all these plans and then you get 30 seconds to make a final two speech. Maybe she can pick it up in the questions. Usually a lot of good players can pick up in the questions things that they maybe can't get across in their speech, but she needs to be able to pull things like this out. Like, hey, I was doing that on purpose. I wasn't just hugging the stuffed animals to, because I'm a kid. I was actually doing that on purpose to make you think that you shouldn't take me as seriously as maybe you should have. You should have gotten me out of the game. I hope that she just nails it if she gets to the final two.
She does have a lot of aspects of her game that just they can't be explained, especially in live questioning. So I think that she will need to win a couple competitions down the road if she wants to get there. If she's dragged by Kayla or somebody, then it's not going to work out for her. Unless people are pissed at Kayla, which is certainly a possibility with the way Kayla's been playing. So let's move on to Ryan. Brent, you were up on Ryan last week. Melissa and I were both down on him. I think we can conclusively say even if he gets saved this week, this is still a down week for Ryan. Although I do think he has some potential upside if he does get saved by the twist. I think he'll be sticking around for a while. He will occupy that GOAT spot for a while, Brent.
Yeah, I don't really know where he went wrong this week. I'm sort of looking back on it like what could Ryan have done? What could he have done to change the course of events this week to prevent himself from being nominated and targeted by Kayla? And I think because he was telling her the truth when he, relayed everything that happened when he was talking to Kayla. I mean, maybe, blocked Paris from talking a little bit to her. I don't know. Or
talked to her last. Somehow back in there and convinced her. I know that one of those things where it's the last person who speaks to them ends up convincing them. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if he maybe Taran he's too condescending sometimes, and people can't help but think he's always up to something, even when he's telling the truth.
He just flat out got outplayed, I think. Paris had a deeper connection. She had more history with Kayla, and she was able to be more convincing. And he was the one that she could blame everything on. I think it's a situation where just based on how they've played the game up until this point, there wasn't much he could have done because he basically laid it all out for Kayla, and it wasn't enough. It's hard to point to if only Ryan had done this, or if Ryan really screwed himself by doing this, because I feel like it's just the way it went. He got outplayed.
Yeah, I really hope though that he's ultimately evicted this week, and then Arissa says to him, can I have the chance to save you? And they didn't. Thank you. By the way, I wanted to give you credit on your recap show earlier today. John Krause was bringing up the fact that Ryan was begging for help on the feeds, and he was like, "Well, you got to give him." John was like, "You got to give Ryan credit for at least being aware enough that there haven't been a lot of twists this season, and maybe something could save him. So give him credit for begging for help on the feeds." And Taran's response was, "Yeah." it was just such a condescending and I could totally read your mind when you said that. So yeah, you're like, good for him, but it's not gonna work.
Yeah, when we have to like give people credit for doing that, I think that's when we say Big Brother Canada has done something wrong. Yes. So down on Ryan. Brent,
Down
you
on
agree?
Ryan.
Melissa?
Yeah, down. I'm sorry. Yeah, down. Obviously.
Yes. All right. Let's move on to Will, our final person of the night here. I was up on Will last week. Brent, you and Melissa were both down on Will. This is interesting. Will's position has definitely changed.
Yes.
He was a target heading into this week. He no longer seems to be a target. So I'm tempted to say that he has continued to rise, just based on the fact that Johnny and Erica are bigger targets than him. And it's really not due to any work that he's done. It's really due to Paris's work. But I do have to say, I do think that Will's stock here has risen. Brent, you agree?
Yeah, and I'm worrying that maybe my bias against Will at this point is preventing me from buying some Will stock, because I do think that he has a possibility of making it to the end and winning. But I'm worrying that I'm worrying my personal distaste for him is preventing that. But I will rate him up, and I do believe that his position in the House has improved. I agree with you, Taran, that it's nothing to do, as far as I can tell, with anything that he's necessarily done himself. In fact, I think he's behaved pretty ornery. But on the other hand, Big Brother is a game of luck and social bonds, and the fact that he has a great relationship with Paris and she saved him, or maybe influenced the HOH to make different nominations that might ultimately save him, even though he's on the block. Good for him. You know, he's the one who befriended her in the first place, so you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I gotta rate him up this week as well.
So grudging, we're like, oh, we gotta rate him up, yeah.
Because, like, I mean, yeah, he's on the block, but he initially went from being a potential target this week to not really being a target this week. And I don't think that there's a situation that he goes home this week, because either he gets saved by Canada or they vote for Ryan to go out anyway. So I don't really see him going home this week anyway. Although, as you guys said, I don't think that's anything he did. I think that just happened to fall in his lap due to the work of other people. And I will say that there's the I also have to rate him up, because if he does get saved by Canada, I could see next week people being like, well, we don't want to go against Canada. They clearly love him. So he ends up staying around week after week. And so, yeah, I think that this is a situation where, due to no work of his own, but due to external forces, I have to rate him up.
Yeah, that's something else I brought up on the update this morning, that benefiting from a twist is huge for your game in the House. Even though it's completely by luck, people often give you credit for it. So nobody's going to be like, oh, well, Will didn't save himself. They're going to be like, Will saved himself from the block. Even though he wasn't even the target, even though he had nothing to do with it, they're going to say, well, the audience must have seen something in Will. There's going to be an aura of people like Will, and that means that there's something to respect about him. The audience is their final judge and jury. The audience is their god, and if the audience decides to bless Will, then Will is the chosen one, and that means that Will gets extra respect. And that's huge in this game, especially if Will makes it to the final two, especially if people are thinking about potentially targeting Will. It's a big benefit to Will's game if this twist gets used, so that would be huge for him. It's also funny, you can see on for my chart for Will, I had him up week 1, and then he had that dramatic fall the week that Jesse goes home. We all felt like he made a massive mistake, and then ever since then, I feel like he's been slowly rising back up, not really due to his own workings, just like naturally kind of rising back up as the statute of limitations for that mistake come to an end, right? So like Kayla was pretty after Will after he went and betrayed Jesse, but it's been so long that the grudge has faded, and she was like almost going to take a shot this week, but it was just long enough that she had forgotten the mistake that he made, the attack that he made on her. So he seems to be safe from that, and he is just continuing to slowly rise based on his natural ability in the game, which is not very much strategic ability, but he does well enough socially.
Yeah, I also think that the fact that Canada might save him will also benefit him, because people will be like, well, Canada sees everything. They're seeing the live feeds, they're seeing the episodes. He's doing something really good behind the scenes that we don't know about, or, he's just this super nice guy, or, there's so many different variables as to why Canada would have voted to save him, that they might then respect his game more, being like, wow, he must be a really good player behind the scenes and we had no idea. But Canada knows all and they voted for him. So it's just, that's why I really don't want that happening, because he's not playing a great game. He's not doing great things, and he's not a super nice guy. So I don't want the rest of the House treating him as such and making it so that he ends up going down to the end and they give it to him. I really could see him winning if he wins this vote.
I will respectfully disagree with that, because I feel like the House guests are smart enough to know, you know what, America, I did the same thing Rob did. Canada probably saw the same thing we did, which was Will talking with his son on the feeds, and that's why they saved him. I mean, like, I can't imagine that they think a specific way about Will, and then they're all of a sudden going to say, hey, Canada knows all. I mean, I do agree that they'll say that, maybe openly, but in their heads, I don't think they're going to think that, and I don't think they're going to be afraid of getting rid of him either.
I hope you're right.
Especially if they think that Canada might, especially if she doesn't announce a jury member again this week, I feel like they might start to think, what's going on here? And we don't want anybody who's a favorite of Canada getting to the final two. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where, like, I think they will do everything they can to rationalize it away because it makes them uncomfortable that Will is more popular theoretically than them. However, it is something that affects you subconsciously. And think about how when people make it to the final two and the jury votes on a winner, we often, even if we thought that one person was way better than the other person, a lot of people will then go, well, there was something that other person did right to win, right? Like there's an unconscious switch. Like the way that we view Josh right now, who won Big Brother 19, is dramatically different than how we would view him if one more person had voted for Paul instead. Mm-hmm. That's how much of an effect that subconsciously the other people's opinions can influence you. And especially when you're in a house and you're so nervous about what people think on the outside, I think people will do their best to not be influenced by it, but they will be on some level deep down. Okay. So there we are. Will, up for Will. We all agreed up on Will, I think. Right? Yes. So that's where the stock watch is. Let's get some questions in before we wrap this up. If you have any more questions, make sure you send them in to me on Twitter, or let me know in the chat if it's not going by too fast. And I have one from Being Loud. We talked about this a little bit. Being Loud on Twitter asks, do Derek and Kayla actually like each other? I feel
like that's not something you should have to ask about a showmance, but I guess we have to ask it because it doesn't look like they do. I don't know.
There's been some speculation that maybe Derek is a little more into Paris than Kayla. I don't know if I necessarily buy into that, but it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. I feel like I've said my piece. Like I don't see much there. But I'm gonna be nice today.
They don't seem to have a lot of chemistry. It's not often that you see a couple in the house that is able to just like keep their hands off of each other. It's in such a sterile way, right? Like there's usually some kind of stuff happening.
Well, especially when they win HOH and they're in the room together alone. Like you'd think that like something, but.
Yeah, and like I would like to think that I would have the self-control to not make a fool of myself on national television and have to look back at my Big Brother experience making out with an ex of mine. So maybe they're just both really got a lot of self-control. No,
I like
if that's
it.
The case, great. Yeah,
I much prefer it this way than to have them all over each other. Like I much prefer it as more of like a partnership where they're just working together and they strategize together and they're seen as a duo rather than like them just all over each other, because like I don't want to see that. So I'd much prefer it this way.
I know. I like it though that she's the alpha. That's definitely fun.
I like it.
It's been a long time since we've seen something like this where he's just so the beta.
Yeah. We have a question from Zach Mercer on Twitter who asks, what will the house dynamic look like if Will does get saved by the twist and Erica leaves? Which is an interesting question because it is a theoretically likely outcome. So obviously in that situation, Erica is gone. Ryan stays in the house. I think that Ryan is somebody that nobody looks at. Nobody's going to be targeting Ryan anytime soon, unless we have another like freak HOH win where we have to waste another week waiting on Ryan to leave. Which,
I've been
man, that would be
thinking
boring.
for weeks.
No, I never thought Ryan had a chance.
That he's not going to get targeted.
Exactly. I never thought he was going to get targeted this week, and then somehow he did.
Yeah.
So, I think he's just incapable of not sounding like a total douche the entire time.
Well, here's the thing. So next week, if Maddie, Paris, or Derek win, or Allie or Liv, theoretically, they are going after Erica and Johnny. However, if Erica gets evicted this Thursday, then I think the change will be if Paris, Maddie, or Derek win, they are going to target Ryan. I think they're going to target Ryan over Johnny. So basically, instead of getting a Johnny Erica being targeted week, we're going to get another round of Ryan leaving the house.
Oh, fun.
Whereas if Erica leaves and Johnny wins HOH or Ryan wins HOH, it'll be similar. They'll go after Dela. And in that situation, then I think Ryan will be forgotten for a while. So basically not too much change, to be honest. I think the lines will remain the same. The difference will be either we sit through a week of Erica and Johnny on the hot seat or another week of Ryan on the hot seat. That's what I think the difference is. Do you guys agree?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
All right. Just get another synchronized yes. All right. We have a question from Shelly. Do you think they'll show how much Erica is in danger in the Wednesday night episode? We talked about this a little bit.
I hope they do.
Yeah. Like how, I mean, even if they're just going by the standard formula of will they use the veto, won't they use the veto? Obviously, like that's a huge part of the story, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they will show how much Erica is in danger. It's really just a matter of like, what's the tone and how they show it? Do they show it like, oh, you want this move to be made, which encourages people to use the save in order to make this move happen? Or do they show it with the tone of, oh, you guys just dodged a bullet because you didn't want Erica to get backdoored and now don't use the save because you want to keep Erica safe? And I don't know. It depends on what the producers want. I would imagine that they want Erica to stay in the house. I think it's bad for them and bad for the reputation of twists if we get Erica leaving Thursday night. I think that's not the best TV, even in the moment, and certainly for the long term. But we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I think it would be worse than Hamza and his funeral, like when he went home. Like, you know, like, I mean, Erica to me is such a goddess at this point in the house, and she's fiery. She's fun on the feeds. I mean, she's got a little bit of a temper, but it's not nearly as big as Will's. You know, she's just got spice to her, and I like that. And I have to imagine the producers love that too. So even if like they just do a regular veto episode where, you know, they're like, well, is he going to use the veto or not? And if he does, we know who's in danger. You might even have Erica after the fact figuring out maybe she was in danger, like talking or feeling like she's in danger in the diary room going, you know, I'm glad the veto wasn't used there, or I might have been in danger, you know, as they do the out trailer to the episode. I have to believe that even if they do it in a regular way, that the audience is going to know that Erica was in severe danger here. So I think that, again, that's why I don't think the twist will be used, mainly because the twist can then be used next week. If the twist could only be used this week, then I'm sure like if it was a 1 week thing and they said use it to save Ryan, use it to save Will, or use it to save nobody, I think it would definitely be used. But the fact that we can carry it over to next week makes me think that they'll stay their hand this week, because I think the producers would love to send Ryan home.
Yes, we had a question from Nick Welch in the chat who asks, can you talk about the eviction schedule for the rest of the season and if the triple eviction is actually a real possibility? I would say it's definitely a real possibility. I would not count it out. I believe that without a triple, they are short an elimination, I think. So it is kind of likely that we get one. We could also theoretically have a couple of doubles. We could have a sped up end game. But I think what it looks like is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more Thursday night evictions. and then the finale. I think that's what it looks like.
They always go from 5 to 3 really fast. Like,
yeah.
So that, but yeah, I think you're right. We're short one person because there's 10 people currently in the house right now, so we'll have 9. So we'll have to get through it. Yeah.
So yeah, for the last Thursday would go from 7 to 6, I think, if we didn't have another double at all. So if we had a double, then we'd go from 6 to 5. And so yeah, I think we'd have 5 by the
I agree. We could do a double. It has to be. I don't think there'll be a triple. I think it'll just be a double.
Yeah, so if they went to 5 on the 3rd and then went into the finale with 5 people, then they don't need a triple, but they may want to.
There's that stupid crypt thing, which hasn't come into play yet. So yeah, okay. Anyway, sorry to be a downer.
Yeah. So who knows? But the bottom line is there is definitely a possibility that there is a triple. The numbers would work if they did it or if they didn't do it. It really just depends on what they do toward the end. Yes, we are getting kind of close here. About halfway, maybe just a little bit over halfway. In the season. So we also have a question from Dominic. Do you see anything in Maddie's game that says she can turn it on once she starts to smell the money? I think I know Brent's answer.
No.
Melissa, what do you think?
It's very hard because I feel like maybe she could turn it on, but it wouldn't matter really. I just feel like the people in the house don't like her or trust her or like vibe with her at all. And I think that it's tough because I don't know if she would have any sway with anybody at this point. So, it really depends because yeah, sure, she could turn it on. Maybe she could win a competition or something, but she needs to have people, any sort of influence with people. She needs to be able to convince other people to do these sorts of things unless she wants to just like win out with competitions the whole time, which like I don't really see her doing. So for some reason she just can't vibe with everybody and I don't know why. And so I don't think it's a question of does she need to turn it on or turn it off or whatever, because I do think she's trying, but she's just not making any headway no matter what she tries.
When I think about where Josh was at this time in Big Brother 19, I feel like he was in a worse spot, and I feel like he had worse skills than Maddie does. So it's hard for me to completely counter out. I feel like she's been coming pretty close in a lot of the competitions. So if she does end up winning a few, if she takes out somebody like Erica, if she makes a couple of moves, I feel like she's still got money in the game. Again, I feel like she's probably one of the least likely people to win at this point, but I don't think I can counter her completely out, especially with Big Brother Canada.
I thought Josh had a 0% chance of winning at this point.
I didn't.
Game. So, anything is possible now that Josh has won. Like literally that's opened the floodgates for anybody to win. Like anybody. So yeah, she could totally win. But I don't know if she would necessarily turn it on and become like an amazing player, just in the same way that I don't think Josh turned it on and became an amazing player. He just happened to win. So I think she could do the same, and hopefully she could become an amazing player. But at this point, from what I've seen, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if she could.
All right, there you go. Do we have a hashtag for this episode? Let me know in the chat if you guys have any ideas, or do you guys have any final thoughts for the week?
I do not have any final thoughts for the week. I will tell you, just on an unrelated note, because I talked about this on the Taran show. My time in the Michael Peterson trial is currently on TV right now. So they're showing parts 1, parts 2, and parts 3. I think they showed them Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Tonight's the final episode. I was on last night. They showed me pretty well, but I also thought I looked a little fat. So I hated that shirt that I wore. I really should have worn a different shirt. I should have worn black, but instead I worn dark red. Anyway, so it's called An American Murder Mystery. It's on the Discovery ID channel, and it was really jarring, I have to tell you, Taran, to see myself at 28 years old and then see myself nowadays. I'm like, oh my God, 15 years really has passed.
Yes, so make sure you check out my interview with Brent on the Taran show. That's episode 2 is part 1 that is most relevant.
Not long ago. Wow.
Yes, yeah. And check out the documentary that we talked about it all that time ago. And there was one thing that somebody asked me a couple days ago. They want to know who's been studying on the feeds, because
that's true. That's a good question.
That tends to be very important. Erica, I think, is the biggest studier. She has the best system. She uses the those like checkered shirts that they put on to go outside in order to like lay out her little like pieces. So Erica is a very good studier. Johnny obviously studies. I mean, basically all of them study. It's just a matter of like who seems to be more effective at it. And I think that Erica has the best method. So I think that Erica will tend to have an advantage in these kinds of competitions. But they all know. And when Maddie did the Taran Show shout out, it was because she was talking to Paris about Kevin, and how when Kevin came on the Taran Show, we talked about how Kevin broke the game by studying the competitions. Both Paris and Maddie had printed out Kevin's notebook, that his big binder that he had used to prepare for the show, and had been studying it. So they are all, basically, what we predicted last season, where it's like, you see Kevin do this, of course everyone's going to start to do it. So I have to imagine that, Maddie seems to think that they've really front-loaded a lot of these question comps, and that maybe toward the end of the game it'll be a little more physical. So who knows? We'll have
hearing
to see.
that about Erica makes me worry even more about her on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, what a tragedy that would be. We have like a female comp goddess to run the game from the very beginning all the way to the end. And because remember, she was getting into a fight with Andrew at the end of week 1, after she eliminated him during that HOH competition, because he had saved her, put her in heaven during the first week. For her to be eliminated via twist would just be a dagger. So please don't use it.
Seriously, that'd be just so sad.
Yes.
And of course, then we're gonna have to hear afterwards for ever an eternity that Erica would have won and dropped and all this other sort of stuff, when let's just watch the game play out and we'll see if she wins or not, and that's the end of that discussion.
Yes. All right. So I still need some hashtags. We're going to be seeing "say no to twists." I feel like I'm definitely on board with the message, but I don't want to annoy people. Hashtag Maddie's still crying.
Say no to the twist. Vote no. Vote nobody.
Say no to twists. That's a pretty good one, especially.
Remember, Taran, we felt bad because we didn't say enough things.
True.
We didn't campaign for Kirsten before, so this time we're gonna go all out. Don't use the damn twist, people. Listen to me. Don't use it. We want to save it for next week when your favorites really will be in danger. So just stay your hand.
Mm-hmm.
You're wrong.
Well, make sure you check out this week's episode of The Taran Show. I spoke with our Bachelor and Bachelorettes and all things Bachelor coverer of podcasts, Haley Strong. Wonderful conversation with Haley. Make sure you check that out. And the future weeks, I've got some great stuff coming on The Taran Show, so make sure you tune in. Make sure you're tuned in, subscribed, all of that good stuff. And of course, I'll be live tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything happening on these feeds. And then, of course, Thursday nights, we will have our eviction recap. And oh boy, it might be a doozy. So make sure you tune in for that as well.
I think I'm going to look at the spoilers for that one because I need to be prepared. I normally don't look at the spoilers, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. See, the problem for me is that if I see the spoilers and I see that the twist was used, I'm gonna be like, now I really don't want to watch this episode. So I have to keep myself in the dark so that my disappointment comes at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
Otherwise, I won't enjoy it. I'll just be waiting for it to happen.
That's true. Well, it depends. If I'm on Thursday's episode, then I won't watch the spoilers because I want my natural, anxiety and ranting to be there if she does go home. But if I'm not on Thursday, I don't even have to check the schedule. So if I'm not on Thursday, then who cares? I'll look.
All right. Well, we've got all that coming to you soon. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Armstrong Taran. Brent is at One Lucky Gay, and Melissa is at It's Melissa with 3 A's, 3 of them. And I recently, I hadn't paid attention, but Melissa Bott also has 3 A's. That was an interesting
Rob
little
noticed
detail.
that.
Yeah. But Melissa
Bott, man, she gets around.
She does.
I have to tell you.
Yeah, more than me. She's
I know, right?
Place. She's in the chat. She's tweeting at people. She's asking questions on the show. Very impressive.
Just more and more active on. To be honest, I bet Robot Taran is more active on Twitter than I am too. So
Yeah, probably.
Robot Taran gets on the actual show all the time.
Yeah, right. He knows how to do those things that production was like, oh, let's show that one.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself.
What a great episode.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. You'll never
say
see me.
really generic stuff.
I would love for them to put up my tweets like, oh, they didn't totally screw that edit up this time.
This edit was very accurate, very reflective of what happened in the feed. They'd be like, we don't care. You just be like, yeah, it's my favorites, and then you'll get on.
Yes. All right. So that's all we've got for you. For Brent and Melissa, I am Taran Armstrong. # say no to twists.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see you next time.